Hey Eurovision fans, it's Tom Kinty from Shanghai back for another Eurovision reaction video. Today I'm going to be going through your polls on the predictions on who's going to qualify from semi-final number 1 of Eurovision 2022. I'm going to be comparing the polls from before and after the rehearsals and seeing who are the big changers. So let's kiki. As always, you can use the time bar if you want to skip to a particular part of the video. I'll also leave timestamps in the description. The way I'm going to work this video is I'm going to be talking about the 6 songs that had the biggest change, whether positive or negative, and that's what I'm going to put in the time bar, going from 6th up to 1. These are kind of the 6 I want to talk about anyway, so it's kind of good that they're the ones with the big change. Okay, so in 6th place, with a decrease of 8%, moving from 5th highest down to 6th, is Albania. I can definitely see why this has dropped, because I think some people were just like a little bit disappointed with the rehearsal, myself included. I do need to emphasize with this that it's not that her rehearsal was bad, it's more that the national final was better, which is always something you never want to see, and it's always a little bit confusing, especially with her and her team. They're so invested, they've got so many ideas, they're really in this, like their heart and soul is absolutely honestly poured in. So it is very odd when they come to the show with all this thought and time that they put in, and the performance is just not as good as the national final. It really isn't. Like, the national final looked very put together and professional. I liked her styling a lot more. She had this kind of like warrior princess thing going on. Her styling now is a little bit more like kind of bedroom princess. I just don't get the same kind of like ferocity from it that I got from the national final. But then again, she might change it. She had a different outfit in the first thing that was definitely not as good as either of them. So the second rehearsal, which is the clip that you guys would have seen, I do feel like her outfit improved. Look, this performance is fine. It's just, considering how magic, pun intended, the music video was, this is just not at that level, and that's a little bit confusing. I still do think this is qualified. By the way, the point of today is not me giving who I think is going to qualify. I'm going to try to do that in a separate video. The focus of today is that I want to be commenting on your guys' changes in the polls. I still think this can get through, but it's not just about getting through. I also wanted her to have a good result, and I just don't feel... I'm just sad for her, I suppose, because I don't think she's going to get as good a result as she deserved for the amount of time and effort she's put in. And I feel that could have been avoided if just better decisions had been made. I have a theory that one of the reasons they tried all this new stuff is that they didn't want to repeat things, because she's very engaged with the fandom. So I felt like she wanted to bring something new again for them to give them something special. Whereas you look at other countries who have just recycled what they've had before, Lithuania, Sweden, Estonia, they haven't come up with anything new. They've just known that, oh, okay, we already had a good idea, let's just keep it. And I wonder if that's the mentality that was going on in the Albanian camp. It's like, okay, people really like this. What's our new version going to be, so that the fans don't come out and say, oh, you're doing the same thing. I wonder if that was in their psyche, because if that is, I don't think that's the right way to be thinking, because really we make up like such a small percentage of the actual voting population. Okay, in 5th place, it's another minus, is Croatia with -9. So they've gone from 22% down to 13%. And -9 doesn't sound like a lot, but that's almost half of the yeses that they had are gone. So my reaction to this rehearsal was not particularly positive. Now, I don't think that people are only reacting based off me. Obviously, a lot of the people who come here also watch other channels. They also watch live stream. They may have seen stuff on Twitter. So I obviously don't think this is just based on what I see. Actually, whenever I go to see a live stream, I always see some regular names that I recognize, which is quite nice. I watch the Wee Pogs live stream quite a lot because I think I really like Suzanne and Sinan. But yeah, this is just, again, this is another one that I actually think the staging is worse than the national final. And you may remember in my video that I really didn't like that gymnastics guy, but this is actually probably even worse, because at least in the national final, I really liked her styling. She had this really pretty black dress on, and now she's kind of got this like ugly prom dress. So I actually preferred her styling there, and I felt like she was more of the focus in the national final, even though that E just was behind her, flipping around and trying to get all the attention. I still felt like she kind of commanded the stage, and my focus was like mainly on her, and it felt like that had that like real strummy singer-songwriter feel. Whereas now there's so much distracting stuff going on with all these like robot dancers and their weird love triangle or whatever's going on. the staging I don't think works at all. So yeah, I just felt like it's worse than the national final, which I always feel is a little bit of a Eurovision crime. I think that's one of my top Eurovision crimes, is having worse staging than your national final when you've had more time and more money and more time and money. That's enough, and think more. Those are like two very useful things in improving staging. Feedback as well, you've got more feedback. This has now got 13%. I agree with you. I don't think this is going to qualify. In fourth place with plus 12, finally we get a positive one, plus 12 is Portugal. So Portugal were sixth with 74, and now they're fifth with 86. So they've swapped places with Albania. I definitely agree with this one. I think this staging is really, really, really lovely. And that is despite the fact that we can't even see what it's going to look like yet. Now, obviously we can't see what any of them are going to look like, but this one feels more so than any of them that it requires the audience to be present. I'm pretty sure that they're going to ask people to do the phone thing with the light, and that is really going to make it come alive, because we're going to have this sea of lights and we're going to have these six women doing this very, very intimate, supportive collective group song together. It's just going to really bring it alive. So even when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is going to look even better when we have the audience. And some of the songs don't really know. It's like Sweden, for example, has very, very, very little audience interaction. It's very, very close cut in on her, so that won't change it that much. This is really, really well done. I'll be really, really sad. Like I've already said, I'll be really, really sad if this doesn't qualify. But yeah, so great to see you get a jump. This went up 12%. Okay, in number 3 spot is Austria with minus 13. So Austria were initially in 9th place with 56%. They're now in 10th place. So you still put them just on the borderline but with 43%. So more no's than yeses for this to go through. Again, I agree with you. I agree with everything that you guys are picking so far. I think this has got a shot. Each take got better, which I think is a positive. The first choice, but even the third, the rehearsal clips that you guys saw were the third take. And I saw some people complaining about the vocals for the third take, and I was like, whoa, thank God that you didn't see the first take, because you would have just been absolutely nutty. This would have had a much bigger no percentage if it was for that. So it worries me that there is the capacity for that vocal to get worse. It might get better, but she's definitely got it in her to make it worse again. So that's slightly disconcerting. I think the staging is fine. I've seen a lot of people saying the staging is amazing. I don't know if I agree that they're just in a circle, a halo with the Austrian colors. I don't think there's anything particularly like magical or unique or special about it. Like, it's not bad, but I don't really get that it's got that special something. I'd still really, really like for this to go through. I want these type of songs to succeed because I would like to have more of them, and I don't want them to get too much of a reputation for being really, really bad. But yeah, I think a lot of people are voting this down because they saw that the vocals are shaky and she doesn't have that full confidence and she looks a little bit nervous. Lumix is bringing that energy and that confidence, but she doesn't have it yet. And it is hard for her to get that confidence because everyone's being quite critical about her vocals. So it's this kind of like vicious circle. I don't really know what the solution to that is. Unfortunately, when people do enter these kind of like extremely large competitions, whether you agree with it or not, there is a lot of public opinion about it. And unfortunately, some of that opinion sometimes is going to be negative. Now, that doesn't mean you have to listen to it. I think if I was the head of delegation for a country, which I'm not going to lie, I think I want to be at some point. But if that was to ever happen, I might even say, look, social media off, I'm taking your phone. No, I'm taking your phones because it makes me sound like I'm like treating them like children. But I was like, come on, let's log out of Twitter. Because you can avoid it if you want to. It's not like, that's why I really don't like when people at. I saw the EBU released a statement saying like, don't at. People's like, bloody hell, I would have thought that was just like common sense. If you're gonna have like spew like toxic stuff, at least have the decency to not at the person so that they don't have a choice whether they read it or not. I think there's a big difference between like giving your opinion in your own private domain and like actually like searching out that person to tell them your opinion of them when they haven't asked for it. I think there is quite a significant difference between that. Now let's go to a country that has gone up 17%, and that's our number 2, and that is Latvia. And again, I completely and utterly agree with this. This was really, 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 really fantastic and charming and energetic. And it's going to have a connection. I'm trying not to spoil who's come first, but I do think it has a big connection. I'm just going to tell you, no, no, I'm not, because I want to be surprised who's first. This just brings like a huge amount of fun and colour and vibrancy. Although obviously we're getting that from Norway as well. It just feels different. Like, Norway is quite not one note, but it's quite targeted in the way it looks and its presentation, what it's doing. Whereas Latvia is less about like choreography and virality. It's just kind of like freedom and like we're entertaining you. So it does have a different enough feel from Norway that I feel like people could vote for both of them. I just loved it. It's really fun and energetic. I just think its main job is to stand out. We've actually seen as well that Latvia did really well with the Euro jury. I'm pretty sure the Euro jury results came out after I did the first polls. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that. So maybe people are factoring that in as well. This did really well in Euro jury. It was 14th with 76 points. So if you just take the semi-final 1 songs, Latvia came, and 6th was Latvia with 76 points. So it was the 6th ranked song in Eurojury, and you wouldn't think of it as a jury baity song. Now, I do think that the actual television maybe going to put it down a little bit. They're not saying pussy though, so that's the other thing, is that I think people are so set in their head that it can't get votes because it says pussy, and that's like makes it naughty and rude, but they aren't saying that. So I don't know if actually when the jury does come to watch it, they're just going to say, oh, these are just a bunch of fun guys singing about environmental stuff, and it's not going to have that possible like smutty feel that I know some people really don't enjoy. So maybe this might actually do better with the jury we expected. We already knew it was going to do well with the televote. Despite the fact it's early, I do think they've succeeded in being memorable. They're obviously not going to get as many points as if they had swapped positions with Norway, but there's nothing they can do about that. I still do think this can creep in. And number 1, it's a dropper. Minus 24% for Moldova, number 1. Now, I specifically remember my first poll that this was constantly 50-50. I remember saying when I did the community poll video that it didn't budge. It was like neck and neck the whole time. This was never neck and neck. This really, really has dropped. And actually, this is the swap that's happened. Latvia have moved up to 9th from 11th. Moldova have moved from 10th down to 12th. Not even down to 11th. They've gone below Iceland now. Iceland are up to 11th, which is something that excites me because I've kind of fallen in love with that song recently. So yes, Malta are down to 12th. I completely agree with this. They have totally missed the ball here. Now, I'm a little bit cautious about saying this because this was, out of all 40 songs, this is the one I had the most buffering issues with. I'm pretty sure they did 3 run-throughs. I didn't get to see a full run-through. I definitely saw the start quite clearly. The start is massively underwhelming. Like really, really, really surprisingly misjudged for a country that we really associate with hitting the nail on the head with fun, upbeat, carefree, get up and party staging. This is the second year in a row that this has happened now. I feel their staging last year was also mismatched. Last year was sugar, it felt embarrassed. It felt like an embarrassed staging, like they saw the reaction to the music video and they felt that maybe people thought they were being camp or kitsch, so they went for something that was quite, quote unquote, stylish. Although it was kind of camp because it did have the like guys bare chested, but it wasn't as camp as the music video was. So I felt that was a little bit shy compared to what the music video was. This year, I think we've got the same thing again. I think we've got like a shy, more timid version after having a music video that was quite like out there and in your face and like not insecure. This performance is just 6 dudes going like this for quite a long time. Again, I really want to see what's in that middle bit. I know that they walked to the front at the end, but yeah, I do not blame people for putting this down 24. Actually, I'm going to look at the rehearsal clip because that is the middle part, which I didn't see. Look, I think you can see in that rehearsal clip, it's just, it's just very underwhelming, and there's no props and there's no story, which we thought, especially for a song that has such a story of this, like, I know that they probably weren't going to get the Moldovan and Romanian flags and like wrap them in each other and have loads of hearts coming out or something like that. But you know, they could have alluded to it in a kind of like cute or clever or white or had something. People are going to watch this and they're like, what the fuck is this song about? They're not going to know what it's about because there's too few lyrics in English, and the lyrics that are in English are Chisinau to Bucharest and Hey Ho, Let's Go, Folklore and Rock Roll. No one's going to pick out from that it's a song alluding to reunification of Moldova and Ukraine. Like, you just can't determine that. And there's no help given to help guide you about what the meaning of the song is or that it actually does have a depth. I think people are going to watch this and think it has no depth at all. So it's a really confusing staging that they've gone for. It's nowhere near as joyful or as energetic as expected. It's such a far cry from Doritos, which was so innovative and imaginative, from 50 to 26. So it lost half of its yeses. Like, that's really, 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 really a big drop. And I feel that rehearsal clip is representative. Some of the rehearsal clips, you look at them, you're like, okay, they're purposefully not showing the best, but I felt Netherlands did that. I felt they showed part of the weakest part. I also feel like Spain have purposefully not shown some of the like mini surprises that are in the end. So, which kind of makes sense. Sometimes you don't want that like extra pressure. I don't think being the favorite is that enjoyable, to be honest. I think you get asked loads of shitty questions and you have loads of pressure put on you. I don't think I would, if I was entering, when I become head of a delegation of Liechtenstein. I don't want to be favourite. I think it'd be bloody awful. I'd much rather be lurking in the shadows, kind of fourth or fifth in the odds, and have a lot less pressure. Let's quickly go through all the other results. So Ukraine went up 2%, Netherlands went up 1%, Greece went up 3%, Norway stayed the same. Portugal was 5th, we already had that. Albania have moved down but are still 6th. Armenia moved up a little bit surprised that didn't move a little bit more, but the really cute surprise was left out of the clip. Lithuania is still holding on pretty strong. I was kind of like pleasantly surprised by that. They're still holding on in 8th place with 64%. Latvia are our new number 9. Our new number 10 is Austria. Iceland moving up, really, really magical. This was 12th before, now it's 11th. Yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise. I think this is definitely worthy of making it to the final. Moldova down to 12th. Slovenia still sitting on 13th. Even though they lost 4%. Now, one thing I'll say about Slovenia is they kind of got dicked over by the staging. I'm not sure if you know this, but do you remember how I said in my video that the ball doesn't do anything? It doesn't move, it doesn't open, it doesn't talk or dance. Apparently, their light show was meant to shine onto the ball and light it up, and that was meant to be a reveal in the last third, and they got dicked over by the Son of Death. So something was meant to happen. So in fairness to them, I said that nothing happened, and they had got something planned. 14th place, Switzerland moved up a little bit from 16 to 20. I still think Switzerland's got a good shot to go in. Denmark, pretty much the same. Croatia, I already spoke about. And Bulgaria have moved up a little bit as well from 6 to 10. I still don't think Bulgaria will make it, but I do think that this performance is respectable. I think it's quite hard to call who'll come last in the semi. My gut instinct would probably be Denmark. Maybe it might actually be Bulgaria. I feel like I want to exaggerate a bit to show that this is actually a decent performance, because everyone's so over the top ragging on it, and actually the final product is pretty well done. But yeah, it still could come last, because I think the quality actually is very, very good in this first semi-final. Okay, so those are all the changes in the polls that you guys voted on, saying who's going to qualify from semi-final number 1. We compared pre-rehearsal and post-rehearsal. Of course, I'm going to do my final prediction video probably today or tomorrow. I'm going to be live streaming tomorrow for the final. I'm trying to work it out now. My God, it's been an absolute nightmare, because I haven't been back to my apartment in 7 weeks. And luckily I bought quite a bit of my equipment, but some of the equipment that I need for streaming is back home and I can't get it. I'm trying to organize it with people in my work. But yeah, don't worry, I will be there. I'm going to work it out. Worst case scenario, it's just going to be me and my phone. Literally, we've been on lockdown for 7 weeks here, properly like shitshow.com/end of world. So yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to do the best I can. But I really do hope to see you guys tomorrow night. I can't believe the first semi-finals tomorrow. Oh my God. Next week, when I'm on lockdown and there's no Eurovision, post-Eurovision depression in lockdown, I'm actually going to fucking lose it. I swear to God. It's going to be the worst week of the entire year. I just need to, I don't know. let's just pretend it's not happening. Anyway, let's talk about happier stuff, because this week is still happy. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And thanks so much for watching. I'm seeing the Eurovision reaction video very soon. Goodbye.